Would you say he's not much of a bore?
I don't know. I was pretty bored reading about him.
Oh no!
Burn. And we just lost all of our subscribers on that
And
one.
they're gone. Wow! Look at that. It's like the Madam Web Rotten Tomatoes score.
I know. Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot.
Make yourself a grasshopper
And enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic because we just watched Season 3, Episode 7, The Guitarist Amplification.
Oh, yeah.
For any new listeners out there, I'm Rob. This is my co-host, Ryan. We are Theoretical Nonsense, the podcast that recaps, reviews, and deep dives facts from the Big Bang Theory, which we call IQ points. As a reminder to everyone, I've seen the series multiple times, but this is Ryan's first time watching, so we do our best to do no spoilers. And Ryan has also been told that he's very similar to Sheldon, so we do a point tally of how close he is to being Sheldon.
And right now, the total is at 78 to 78. We are tied.
It's crazy. Is this episode going to tip the scales in any way?
Maybe. We're going to find out.
Maybe not. I guess you're going to have to stick around and find out.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, a little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget to email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com, and we will read your email out. And no new emails this week.
No new emails, no new reviews either.
Nope. Leave us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we'll read it out loud. If it's a 5 stars, we'll read it out. No 4 stars.
Those don't work.
We could. Well, yeah, not a lot going on, but let's dive into it. Overall thoughts of this episode?
I like this one. It made me laugh a lot. It had some character development that made me think that something I would enjoy talking about and discussing. So overall, this has been one of my favorites of the season so far.
It was a good one. It wasn't my favorite though. There was a lot of it. I don't know. The bickering got a little annoying sometimes, but some of the arguments were really funny. But like, I think I watched this episode like 5 times, and then maybe it was just because I watched it so many times that I was starting to get annoyed by everyone. But this doesn't really go into spoiler territory because it's more about, I guess this episode was really heavy on Sheldon. Kind of, it was really kind of diving into his past and his parents and everything.
And how he deals with tension.
Yeah, but I guess this isn't really a spoiler because it's a completely different show. But I actually did watch some young Sheldon, and I feel like they completely retconned his dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's sad because he sounds like a really cool character. Maybe not cool, but a funny character, an interesting one.
Funny, but like some of the stories that he had to say about like him and his mom his dad and his mom were kind of just like, ugh, that does not seem like a very fun childhood though.
But we've met his mom and we know she's like a decent person, so
yeah,
like it could just be his version, but they're both of their perspectives were really funny. So.
Well, so I bring this up because I feel like as I was watching this and thinking about it, it got me thinking about an old IQ point that we had. Back from the Creepy Candy Coding, we did an IQ point about eidetic memory and photographic memory.
Yeah.
So we established it's a great episode, so everybody should go stop and listen to that one if you haven't, because we do an IQ point on what the difference is between photographic memory versus eidetic.
And if it's real or not.
Yeah, but based off the definition, we established that Sheldon more has a photographic memory. And based off your findings, I remember you said that a lot of photographic memories don't have the most accurate details, or the user thinks that it's 100% accurate, but they miss details.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, is this an illustration of how his photographic memory is failing him? That maybe he actually is only pinpointing certain things, thinks it's really there, but it's not really there.
Or not
You know?
realizing the subjectiveness of the situation and how it's influencing him. Because if he's taking everything for face value, I'm thinking of, sarcastic people. Chandler and Friends, for instance. He says a lot of kind of cruel things, but that's his character, and he's saying them sarcastically just to poke fun at people, but not to actually hurt anybody. So maybe Sheldon is misinterpreting what actually was said, but maybe he's remembering what was said. So again, that biases and that personal opinions and infecting, that's not the word I'm not kind of imposing upon the memory and changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I'm thinking about all this, because once I watched Young Sheldon, I was like, man, his dad isn't anything like how we described it all. So then how can we kind of put this together? And I think we did it just now. You're welcome, world.
We did it. The end. Goodbye.
Yep. Goodbye. Podcast over. All right. This is season 3, episode 7, The Guitarist Amplification, aired November 9th, 2009. Written by Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and teleplay by Richard Rosenstock. Directed, as always, by Mark Cendrowski. Opening scene, they're playing a board game that Sheldon created, called Research Lab. He says, the physics is theoretical, but the fun is real. And it's Penny's turn. She rolls a 5, and look at that. Her Department of Defense research grant is renewed. And Sheldon is very pleased with that, because now she could demolish her Soviet-style cyclotron and build the Large Hadron Collider. So this isn't really...
I give myself a point for being like Sheldon right off the bat. I love board games. I would love to develop my own board game. And I feel like if I made my friends play it, they'd be looking at each other like this, looking around. And I think I even tried to explain one that I was thinking of doing. It was called... There's another game now called Deal with the Devil, but it was going to be called Deal with the Devil. And it was like the notion of traveling around the world on Halloween night, trying to make it to the locations the devil's supposed to turn up and steal souls, and trying to beat him. Or you can make a deal with him and try to kill the other players or something. But again, I got pretty far into the rules, and I tried explaining it to a friend who's like, that's supposed to be fun? So it's kind of the same situation. I'm like, you know what, Sheldon? You get a point.
So you didn't try to tweak it or anything, or try to make it more fun?
I kind of gave up. I'm just like, I got other things to do. Maybe someday I'll go back to it, but, it's on the back burner.
It kind of reminds... that story reminds me of Mythic Quest, because I love that show, and I always think about it. How one of the main characters is like the best coder in the world, but she does not know how to have fun or how to make her game fun.
Yeah. I love that show, too.
Well, it's not really an IQ point, but I looked into a Soviet-style cyclotron, and is basically just another type of particle accelerator. But it seems like it's a smaller one, and with her new research grant, they get to make the larger one. So we actually did an IQ point back in season 1, episode 15, the Pork Chop Indeterminacy, where we talked about the Large Hadron Collider. So check that out if you haven't.
I have to say that, he's saying a lot of science stuff, but this game sounds fun to me. I don't know why Leonard is so against it.
It kind of seems like the game of life.
Yeah.
Like you roll, but in life you spin, but it's like you just kind of move along, you get things, you cycle around, and
maybe some, for some reason I was thinking Sim City, where you're building your laboratory, but then bad things happen to you, like life.
Yeah. Nuclear meltdown. Ah. Well, Sheldon says that Penny is a natural, and they're, with them beta testing, they're going to have the edge over Raj and Howard when they play with them a little later in the week.
But then,
yep. But then Leonard tries to think of a way out of it, and he passes the ball to Penny, and then we find out that Penny actually has a very legitimate reason she's picking up her friend from the airport.
That made
And
me
at
laugh.
first, yeah, it's like, oh, I actually do have plans. And Leonard just tries to play along with it. Yeah.
There might not be room for you. Wait, what?
Yeah. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? And Sheldon is just like so like innocent on it all. It's like, her friend, she's picking her up. Aren't you listening?
Can't you hear? This is why she can't play.
Yeah. Well, Penny's friend from Omaha is a guitarist and is looking for work in LA. And obviously she told Leonard about this, but Leonard insists that she didn't. And this goes back to what I was saying in the previous episode, with like the whole like them making plans and not talking to each other. This is just another great illustration that they don't talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like the communication is just abysmal.
And I could see that because I don't feel like she's had any serious relationships, and he hasn't had relationships. So
yeah,
you know,
so they both don't know how to operate.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess it does make sense. Well, a fight ensues, and Leonard is trying to get the details on her friend Justin, and basically dancing around if it's a friend or an ex. Well, based on how the conversation goes, it's pretty much an ex.
It's an ex. They went out, but they didn't actually go out, right? They went out a few times, but they didn't.
But they definitely saw each other naked, and Penny did not deny that.
Yeah, she did not deny that.
Well, while they're fighting, Sheldon just continues to play the game. He just moves past their fighting and is like, oh, you better go. You better hurry up.
You looked into a laser. Now you lose a retina
Yeah.
and a turn.
The fight escalates, and Leonard starts getting a little insulting, insinuating Penny is an idiot. Penny rightfully gets defensive at that. Leonard calls her a child, and then Sheldon turns on the blender. Turns out Sheldon hates when people fight and tries to drown it out. And that just causes Penny to leave. And Sheldon, kind of being a dick, asks, has your relationship reached its inevitable ugly end? It's like, dick.
You know, that's a dick way to put it, but at the same time, I was kind of wondering the same thing. I didn't give myself a Sheldon point like this, but I was like, you know, are they going to fight about something stupid like this? Because that's what happened in Friends, right? Rachel had a guy that she was working with that Ross got jealous of, and it led to a breakup. And so I'm like, maybe this is going the same direction. He said it kind of rudely, but I was wondering as well.
And then side note on that snow cone that he made, that was the saddest snow cone I've ever seen.
He said, you won the game.
I loved it. I did love how he just slams it down. He slams the orange down afterwards and shoves it in his face.
Commemorate with a snow cone.
It's like, really? Just ice and orange juice? Gross.
I was going to say this. I tried to do an IQ point a little bit, and it turned out that I think it's just a discussion question. Is it okay to have somebody stay with you, either an ex or somebody of a different gender? And from what I was seeing online, most people are like, it's absolutely fine if it's somebody of a different gender. But as soon as you say it's an ex, they say, nope, it's not okay. And I don't know. I remember in high school, my high school girlfriend had a guy that they never really dated, but they kind of flirted with each other. And she said he had this story that he had to crash on her couch and couldn't live anywhere and blah, blah, blah. And I go, he's trying to get into your pants. And she's like, no, he's not, Ryan. You are just jealous. You don't trust anybody, blah, blah, blah. And I remember talking to my parents, and they're like, well, you have to trust her. I'm like, he's trying to get into her pants. And I was probably more worked up at the time, but she ended up having him stay the night, and I think they had to ask him to leave the next day because he was trying to get in her pants. So,
well.
I can't.
But I take it you were a gentleman and did not say I told you so, or did you rub that shit in her face?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
Well, it was an empty victory because I rubbed it in her face and then she dumped me. But it doesn't matter because I was right.
I was right, and I'm still right. I'm single, but I'm not single now. But I was single for a long time, but I was right. I'm thinking about I've hung out with my exes before. I've had exes come to visit me. I was single at the time, but like absolutely nothing happened, and nothing was going to happen. I'm friends with all my exes, so I also really have this healthy understanding that there was a reason the relationship didn't work out, and I'm don't want to go back to that. So I
Yeah.
remember, we can still be friends. But at the same time, I know that with a partner, you respect their boundaries. And again, with the communication, you at least talk about it and say, okay, you're uncomfortable with this. Can we find a solution that works for both of us? But at the same time, part of me is like, it's just a guy sleeping on her couch. But I could see being jealous too.
And I think that's the key to like what you just said that they aren't doing. It's good communication. If they actually just gently told each other their concerns, if Penny just said, "Do you not trust me?" and then if Leonard just calmly just said, without calling her an idiot or the situation idiotic, just like, I'm a little uncomfortable with this, then it would have just clicked in. But they both just got really fired up. Their egos just kind of got the best of them.
Yeah.
It just turned into, no, I'm right and you're wrong. Yeah. I mean, I could like, that's where like at the very end of this episode where it's kind of like why I get annoyed with this one. It's like, well, clearly you're both wrong. There is no really right answer. It's like, you just had to talk. But this kind of is like the running theme with the relationship, that they don't really communicate very well. But like you said, like he's never really been in a relationship, and she has only been on very surface level relationships, where I'm sure with any other boy, it's like, I don't think they ever established how long her longest relationship was. I guess it would be with Kurt, but did they ever establish how long she'd been with him?
How long it was.
Yeah, for all we know, it could have been a month.
Yeah. At most, I'd be surprised if it was more than just a couple months.
Yeah. Where she liked him, but then he ended up cheating on her or whatever. And
thought it was hilarious that when I was doing research into this, that the line got drawn so quickly over, is this okay? Yeah, it's absolutely fine. If you're not okay with it, you're being jealous and you need to grow up. What if it's next? That's not okay at all. Like, people turn so quickly as soon as you throw that, oh, it's an X in there. I'm like, wow.
Well, it's kind of true, especially if you're with someone.
Yeah.
All right. Now we get to the theme, and now we're in Leonard's car. And Leonard is still fuming about the incident with Penny. And based on how he's talking about this, we have to assume that she never brought it up, which I'm honestly inclined to believe. That's not something that would, even if she said it in passing, I feel like Leonard would have caught it and been like, wait, what?
Yeah, I think he would have picked up pretty... Yeah, I could see him being, not jealous, but insecure. There we go. He's insecure enough.
Yep. Well, Sheldon tries to change the subject with a car game, which he calls Scientists. He says, now, I will name 3 scientists, then you will put them in order of the size of their contribution to their respective fields. But to make this game even more compelling, you must consider only the contribution of the man to the field, not the validity of the field itself. And then he gives an example. He mentions, I'm going to butcher this name, Abu Musa Jabir Inhain versus Halbert Vanderplat. And then both of them are basically just continuing to have their own conversation. And then Sheldon just tries to dive into the game by giving him an easy one. He says, all right, it's Isaac Newton, Madame Curie, and Niels Bohr. Go. And I did a quick IQ point on this one. I just did a quick rundown of who all these people are. Did you do anything?
I didn't. I'm like, I could look up who they were, but I didn't know if that'd even be worth it.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to keep it. Yeah, I'm going to keep it quick. So just a quick rundown, because I was wondering, who are these people? Like,
I can't say that this game, although his first one sounded fun, this one sounded like it was pulling nails. If I had to play this, I would sooner break my fingers to get out of the car than play the game with him.
I don't know. It feels a little subjective too, because he just says what does he say? The size of their contribution to their respective fields. Can you really? I mean, I guess in a literal sense, I'm sure you probably can put a value to a contribution to a field, but at the same time, it's like, well, that does feel a little subjective.
You get 60 contribution points.
Yes.
Although that guy over there gets 120.
Yeah. But I'm giving myself 1 million.
I've got 1 million. I'm the biggest contributor.
Well, who is Abu Musa Jabir ibn Hayy? He was an 8th century famous Arab scientist, philosopher, and pharmacist. Due to the immense contribution he had in the fields of alchemy and chemistry, he became to be known as the father of modern chemistry. He's attributed as the one that turned the field of alchemy from superstition to science. And he lived from the year 721 to 815.
Wait, alchemy's not science? I'm just kidding.
Hold on, wait a minute. Homunculus.
Homunculus, you're not science. Go back to your cave.
And then Halbert Vanderplat. I searched high and low for this person. I looked at the spelling of their name. I looked at multiple transcripts. I even had the subtitles on when they were playing the episode to make sure I had his name spelled right.
Yeah.
And I could not find anything on this person.
Huh.
So anybody out there, it kept bringing me to all these other people that were obviously not scientists. Like real estate and stuff like that, and insurance. And it was like, that's definitely not this. Like, unless you really gave an easy one by the father of modern chemistry versus an insurance agent.
Serial killer. Like, what?
Well, if anybody out there actually knows who Halbert Vanderplat is, please let us know, because I am genuinely curious.
We can attribute this IQ point to you if you let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to say that? Do I have the authority?
Yes, you do.
Awesome.
Authority granted.
Yeah!
Next up, Sir Isaac Newton is considered to be one of the greatest and most influential scientists in our history. He invented calculus and provided a clear understanding of optics. But his most significant work had to do with forces, and specifically with the development of a universal law and Then there's Madame Curie. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize in physics, and with her later win in chemistry, she became the first person to claim Nobel honors twice. Her efforts with her husband, Pierre, led to the discovery of polonium and radium, and she championed the development of X-rays.
You can tell that's a good relationship because usually in the past when there's like a man and a woman working together, the man just always steals the credit. So if it's like, keep that guy. He's
good job. Yep, he's a good one.
Decent human being.
Yeah. And then last, there's Niels Bohr, which I've actually gotten ahead in rewatching Big Bang Theory, and he's actually mentioned a handful of times. He was a Danish physicist who made foundational contributions to understanding atomic structure and quantum theory, for which he received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1922. Bohr was also a philosopher and a promoter of scientific research. So they all have a much richer history, but to consolidate it into one IQ point, I just did a little summary.
It's fair. Would you say he's not much of a bore?
I don't know. I was pretty bored reading about him.
Oh, no.
Burn. And we just lost all of our subscribers on that
and
one.
They're gone. Wow. Look at that. It's like the Madam Web Rotten Tomatoes score.
I know. Well, by the time this airs, I'm sure it's going to be out of theaters due to its failure. But I was just off camera. I was just talking to Ryan about this, how like I was following it, the Rotten Tomatoes on Madam Web, how like at the start of the day it was at 32%, and then it dropped to 18, and then by the end of the day it was at 16. Who knows what it is right now? Let's look it up.
So sad because it looks so good. It's like it looked like Scream mixed with like Happy Death Day mixed with Spider-Man. I'm like, how can you get Happy Death Day and Spider-Man wrong? They're two great movies.
Well, as of today, it dropped even more. It is down to 13%.
Oh no.
Audience score at 55%. Maybe I'll watch this when it's on stream. Maybe.
I always loved Madam Web so much in the cartoons. Oh man. I also love Morbius, and you saw what they did to that movie.
Oh, maybe you just have terrible taste in movies. Maybe you're gonna love this.
Or they know that what movies I want to see, so they're like, yeah, we're gonna fuck this up. Take that, Ryan.
Anything Ryan likes, we're gonna fuck it up. Rick and Morty, we're coming for you.
We're making live adaptation, and it's gonna suck.
All for you, Ryan.
For you.
Well, Sheldon loses it and demands for the car to stop, and he just gets out because he can't listen to the two of them fighting anymore. Which I actually did like that Leonard was just having like a little, because I feel like we all do this when we're in the middle of a fight and we're taking a break. We just play out a dialogue in our own head, so it's almost like that other person's there,
right there with us.
Yeah,
re-arguing and arguing.
Yeah. I sadly do. I shouldn't, but I do that. It's like, how dare you say that to me?
I have OCD, and man, people get annoyed with me like repeating events in my head or like arguments, and I'm like, you're annoyed? Think of what it's like up here. I'm going insane. That's one thing on replay, and like, how could I have said that differently? What could have meant? What could have happened?
Yeah.
How's it going to play out? And oh man.
Yeah, like I'm gonna say this and then they're gonna say that. Yeah, I'm gonna
Did
get
I say
them.
that too meanly? Is that what made them mad? Why did I do that? Why was I so angry?
Well, now we're in the hallway and the guys are off to the movies and they're late. Sheldon calculated 17 minutes until the movie starts, and that means they'll need to make it through all the lights on Colorado Boulevard, plus skip the concession stand and pre-show urination, which is very important to Raj, which we learned in the Creepy Candy Coding Corollary. Yep.
I just chugged a Red Bull.
So sad. It's like, I wish you would have said something. Sounds like communication is just overall bad in the entire group.
Yeah.
Well, they bump into Penny, and it's very awkward for everyone. Leonard invites her to go. They're seeing the new digital print of Time Bandits. Penny's not in the mood, and Sheldon continues to try to rush them. Leonard wants to talk about last night, but Penny's not interested unless he's ready to apologize. And nope. They bicker again, and Howard no longer needs his pre-show urination anymore. I like that line.
So I didn't know what he meant by it exactly. Do you think he let the bladder loose because she scared him, or do you think like it just got sucked back up and he's hiding it now? Like,
it could be either or, but I took it as he like, oh, I was so scared. It's all out of me now.
So I did a IQ point on Time Bandits because I haven't actually seen this, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit.
I've never seen it either. I have not seen it, and I did not do an IQ point.
Cool. So
look at us balancing each other out.
There we go. That's why we're good podcast hosts, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything else is going to be exactly the same.
Doesn't matter. We found the balance.
Yeah. So, Time Bandits. Part of why I did this is because I've heard a lot of good things about Time Bandits. Although I've always been quite confused because it was released in 1981, and a couple years later, a movie came out called Ice Pirates. And then I was on a school bus trip, ski club trip when I was in high school, where they had Ice Pirates playing. And for some reason, I thought it was Time Bandits. And when I was talking to somebody about these two movies, it became clear I had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. And so now I make it very clear that Time Bandits is not Ice Pirates, although they came out around the same time and they have pretty similar names. I also found out that it is not the movie called Adventures of Baron Munchausen. And this is pretty important because both covers look very similar. Time Bandits has like a airship kind of flying off into the sunset. Adventures of Baron Munchausen has a balloon that's like a guy's face flying off into the sunset. Now, furthermore, both of them were directed by Terry Gilliam. Gilliam? I'm probably butchering that. But I believe he was one of the Monty Python people. And he's also known for directing Fisher King, which had Robin Williams and what's his name? The dude. Who plays the dude?
Jeff Bridges?
Yeah, Jeff Bridges. And he also directed Brazil. And he directed Adventures of Baron Munchausen. So I'm like, there's a reason why I'm getting Time Bandits and Baron Munchausen confused. The covers look the same. The quality is the same. Ice Pirates was something else. But I know about Adventures of Baron Munchausen because Sarah Polley was in it. Sarah Polley, I think her biggest thing was the remake of Day of the Dead, where she's stuck in a mall with zombies. But she's been in a lot.
She was in that?
Yeah, she was like the main woman. Yeah.
Oh shit.
She's also.
Why don't I remember that?
I like.
Did she just look completely different then?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, when she was in Baron Munchausen, she was like 8, so she looked different between Baron Munchausen.
Oh well, I'm thinking because I've seen her in a lot of stuff now, unless I'm thinking of the wrong actress.
I can't remember. I know she's been directing stuff lately, but I don't remember what she's been in lately. I know my favorite movie with her is this one called Go with Katie, Tom Cruise's ex-wife.
Yes, I did watch that. Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes, yeah, and what's his name? Man, I'm bad with names today. Oliphant.
Yeah, Timothy Oliphant is in it. Yeah,
as a drug dealer, right? And Sarah Polley decides to try to sell some ecstasy on New Year's Eve.
Sarah Polley, not Sarah Paulson.
Oh, there we go.
That's okay. I was like, who's Sarah Polley? Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, when you said Sarah Polley, then I went to Sarah Paulson, who's been like kind of like in a lot of things right now, and I'm just like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. I don't recall her in any of these movies.
Ryan, are you just making shit up, Ryan?
Yeah.
Not again.
Okay.
So, and the reason this is important is because I read Sarah Polley's memoir, and she talks about Baron Munchausen, and apparently, like, I thought it was an excellent autobiography memoir, but she was like traumatized in that movie, and she never complains about it, but it kind of through her life, it shows that she's realized that, wow, I have some psychological shit to deal with from that movie, that it wasn't really a safe environment. They were blowing stuff up by my head, and I was scared. And so, she doesn't complain really, but it's pretty obvious that she didn't feel safe and it traumatized her. And so I've been wanting to watch that movie because she talked about it in her memoir. And now that I know that it's the same director as Time Bandits, I want to see them both. But also, this Terry Gilliam also, Time Bandits also had Sean Connery in it. It had John Cleese, who is also known for Monty Python, and Shelley Duvall, which I think is pretty incredible because she was in only a few things before she dropped off the radar, right?
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, she's the woman from The Shining who yells,
"Oh,
get away from me!
Yes.
Get away from me!"
Yes. Okay.
Who was traumatized in The Shining because Kubrick like mentally abused her, from like made her like not sleep and made her like, from what I remember, like he constantly told her she was a worthless person and stuff, and like didn't deserve to live. And so like when she was crying on set or in the scenes, like she was literally crying. She was traumatized.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so Shelley Duvall, and apparently this movie Time Bandits is about a boy who goes traveling with some time traveling dwarfs who rob stuff. So
That sounds pretty cool.
Right? I think it sounds cool, and it's got these connections to these other movies that I didn't realize. I want to sit down and watch it sometime, and probably not Ice Pirates. I don't remember enjoying Ice Pirates at all.
Sorry, audience, we will not be watching Ice Pirates.
Unless you ask us to, because we'll do anything for you.
Yeah, anything for the fans. Just give us that 5-star review and we're yours.
We're yours.
We're desperate for them 5 stars. On that note, take a break and give us a 5-star review.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Cool. Anything else on those movies?
Nope, that's it. Hopefully it gave some IQ to somebody somehow.
It didn't. But moving on.
Moving on.
Still calling it an IQ point, though.
Amen.
Well, Leonard so for fast forwarding now to the comic book store. Howard kicks Leonard while he's down and offers him an issue Amazing Spider-Man 183, where Spider-Man loses a big fight and then his girlfriend breaks up with him.
See, that's my thought, is that, it's their first fight and they're going to break up or they're going to have turmoil. And I kind of like that this plays out where it's just kind of a not serious fight, because not all fights are serious. But it made me think of Friends, where Chandler's first fight with Monica, I think they go to a bread and breakfast.
It was the hotel. Yeah. They both go out of town at the same time.
And then he comes in and says, here's some of your stuff or something. I guess we're over. And she goes, we had a fight. You don't end something just because of a little fight when you're in an adult relationship. And he goes, really? And then it clicks with her. That's why he's never been in a relationship.
Yeah, it all clicks in.
So anyways,
wait a minute.
I do like the impression that they can get into a fight and not have to have that looming fear of, is this going to end? Like Ross and Rachel type.
Yeah. Well, Stewart pops over, showing signs of him getting just a little bit sadder with each encounter that we see him. He was going to close early, but then he would just go home to a smaller, lonelier room full of comics.
That made me laugh. Just go home to a smaller, lonelier room full of comics.
Guess I might as well stay here where there's a window. Well, Leonard confides in the others and tries to get them on his side. Howard agrees that she's out of line, but in the event that they break up, her new boyfriend is just right there on the couch. So really, it's all about how long until Leonard folds. And Raj disagrees with them, and he gets to quote some Beyonce, and he should have put a ring on it. Not our first Beyonce, it won't be the last Beyonce mention, which I love about Raj.
I disagree with him, though, because being married wouldn't have fixed this issue. It would just be, am I okay with a guy staying on our joint couch, or am I okay with him staying in our house? And by all means, they live across the hall from each other, so it's kind of like the same building, I don't think a marriage would have solved this. Communication in general would have.
I think he's just kind of saying Penny is free to do whatever she wants. She's an independent woman kind of thing. I think that's what he was kind of going for. And that song was just super hot at this time.
It was really hot at that time, I remember.
Yeah. Should have put a ring on it. Well, then Raj and Howard fight. Just like an old married couple. Raj is mad that they signed up for a cooking class, and Howard bailed to do a juice fast with his mom. And then Howard, I love this. He's like, I didn't know you were upset. And Raj says, really? Did you miss all the subtle indicators? Like me saying, Howard, I am upset. And then Raj says that sorry doesn't make up for the fact that he had to make chicken and rice with a vegan guy. And want to know what vegan chicken and rice is? Rice. And then Sheldon just loses it again, where he plays out a conversation of his mom and dad fighting.
I love this.
Yeah. For some reason, I didn't write down the quote, but it was I watched it again, and I remember what do you say? Like
I wrote it down.
His mom's yeah. Oh,
Say,
did you write it down?
Yeah. I told you if you didn't stop drinking, I'd leave you. Dad, well, it didn't work because you're still here. Mom, stop it. You're making Sheldon cry. You know what's making him cry? The fact I let you name him Sheldon.
Well, then Sheldon just storms off, and I love that, like, didn't even phase Leonard. He just kept looking through the comics, just like, whatever. And then Howard is like, what got him so upset? And Raj, Jessica, just like a married couple, he's like, oh, you could tell when he's upset.
You can tell when Sheldon's upset, but not me.
Well, now we're at
let you name him Sheldon.
Yeah. Well, now we're at the Cheesecake Factory, and we see Penny getting a lousy tip, and then she runs into Sheldon. He tries to get Penny to apologize to Leonard. Then she tries to leave, but he wants to order. And then there's this huge conversation and fuss over what a half sandwich is. You can't just make a half sandwich. It's really just a small sandwich if you make it, which technically is true. And then she assumes that's what he wants to order. And he's like, no, I'll take my usual. And then Sheldon doesn't understand how he isn't the center of the world, because he keeps like bickering at her to like apologize because it's negatively influencing his life.
Mm-hmm.
And then he throws out that she needs to apologize because of all the transgressions that she has committed. And then she leaves and then stops and is like, wait, what the fuck?
Transgressions?
What are you talking about? And Sheldon says it's her driving, the plethora of stuffed animals on her bed that stare at Leonard during the amorous activities, and the constant tardiness and the singing, which I loved because she's like, my singing? And then Sheldon admits, like, well, it's really on my list, but he'd be a fool to not agree. And then she tells him to relay the message to Drop Dead. No wonder she's constantly getting undertipped.
I did a IQ point because she kind of yells at the people in the back. Like, I see you making the check sign. I'll be there when I be there, basically. And I was curious of what's the best way to get a hold of a server, waiter or waitress. And I'm curious your thoughts too, because you have more experience with this. I'm inclined to, I usually, I've been known to put my hand up just kind of like, hey, trying to get their attention because I'm invisible and it's easy to miss me. So if I need to, especially if I'm in a rush or something. But what I found on foodrepublic.com was start with trying to make eye contact, which I don't even know what that means. That, if Sheldon had done something like this, it'd be a point for Sheldon. I hate making eye contact. I don't know how to make eye contact with random people. It's just me staring awkwardly, and then they get uncomfortable, and then I have to leave. So yeah, eye contact. Apparently, if you know how to do it,
I understand that because I remember when I was serving, I do remember people doing that because like as a server, you kind of just like scan the room and you just kind of look around and then you kind of just see someone looking at you and then you lock eyes and then you know that they need something. It takes a lot longer though. And then we get married.
And then you get married.
And that's how I met my wife. But I will say that does take that does assume you have a good server.
It's not like no, need help. Yeah, I'm bad at that. Second thing was politely raise your hand. That's what I know how to do. It's something that I can do with my body and do it politely, and it's easy. But the weird thing is Food Republic says best way is to call them out by their name. And I don't know if I live in a world where I can do that and it's not creepy. Like,
I do
"Hey,
get creeped out every time you
Rob."
say my name.
Rob,
Oh.
I need some
And
help.
podcast over.
I need some service.
Service me.
You see my eyes? My eyes.
I need more sauce.
Sauce. Saucy. So yeah, I guess if you know their name and you know how not to do that creepy, it's the most preferred. The things they said.
I guess I'm a little weird when it comes to stuff like that. I remember it's just me. I'm not speaking for all servers out there. It was just when I was serving, I actually preferred being the anonymous helper. Like, I always got a little weird when people did, because like you introduce yourself, you have a name tag or something like that. When a stranger that you don't know their name calls me out by name, then I feel awkward because like I don't know your name.
It freaks me out.
Yeah.
If I was serving, it would freak me out. And I know at school some people are like, "Oh, you're Ryan." I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" Like, what? So,
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. Safety circle.
Yeah. It reminds me of like every time I would go like fill up waters, it's always the most awkward thing when like you go up to a table, you start like doing stuff, and then the whole table goes silent. They stop their conversation because you're there. It's so fucking awkward. I urge everyone, just continue on with your conversation. Because
so
then
we're gonna kill him at 3:00 in the morning.
There it is. Yeah.
Why didn't you stop talking?
You got the saw. I got the bags. Oh, hi, Ryan. Can I get a refill?
Refill? And what type of acid? Do you know what type of acid burns a
Yeah.
body quickest?
Maybe not that conversation. But I always did appreciate the people who just kept on the conversation as if I'm not there. And then that's actually why like I do that. And then I remember when I was dating my wife at the time, I would just she was that type that because she thought it would be more polite if we just stopped the conversation and then let the server do their thing. And she noticed that I just kept talking to her when the server was like picking up plates, refilling waters and everything. It's like, why are you doing that? And it's like, well, because I've been on that side. It's awkward when the table goes silent.
And stares.
Yeah. And they're just like staring at you. Yeah, fill that water, boy.
I hope you enjoy the water. But the website said, never snap your fingers. I've seen people snap their fingers, and I can see why that would be rude. But, you know, it's a delicate balance between waving politely and not snapping. So you don't want to snap. Avoid ordering for multiple people. And I could see that getting confused. And I've always tried to say, oh, I'll let my waiter know or something. Problem is when waitresses or waiters look very similar and you order from somebody else that you thought was your waiter, and then it turns out that's not your waiter, and you're like, I fucked up. I had one task to eat dinner and I messed it up. But by all means, don't get up and go asking random people, I want some fries, you know. Try to make the eye contact with your waiter. And finally, don't wave wildly. So you can do like a little thing, but don't go like you're drowning or something. That's number one rule.
I'm going to add to that, don't whistle at people either. I've had actually, no one's ever snapped at me, but I've had someone whistle at me to get my attention. And it was like, I had to resist everything to not scream at them. Like, I'm not a dog.
Do I look like a fucking dog to you?
Yeah. And if I do, what kind?
What kind? Am I cute at least?
Yeah. I guess it was, oh man. I remember when I was working at a cafe and there was always a counter that people had to walk up to, and it always gets so awkward, and it still gets awkward as the customer too. Like when you walk up to the customer and the employee that's supposed to serve you is there but turned around. So it's kind of like you don't want to snap or knock or anything like that or ring a bell or something like that. You kind of just have to go like awkwardly to be like, hello. Hello.
You know, that's the worst is when there's a bell and it's like ring for service.
Yeah.
And like you ring it and they come out like, why the fuck did you ring the bell? Like,
I told me to.
I don't know. I apologize guys. Never, I'll help
Yeah.
myself. Don't worry.
Yeah. But I agree with what you said or what the article said about just like depending on the situation, like in her area, it's just kind of like a wave, just like a little wave.
So I think the check mark is probably something in between the wave and the snapping the fingers. Not totally bad, but she's kind of frustrated. So I don't think that the customer is totally in the wrong. She was just worked up.
I don't personally dislike the check thing, because actually he was actually doing her a favor by saving her time rather than flagging you down and have you walk all the way over to me, ask for the check, and then walk back. It's like, hey, I just want the check. Then she could just go direct to her till.
Yeah, and then get it. It's not like whistling and say, come here, you're a good girl.
But what do you think out there in the audience? So let us know in the comments, shoot us an email. If you're a server or have been in the service industry, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? Let us know.
Or how do you hunt down waiters and servers when you need them? With a spear?
What kind of conversations do you have as you're getting your water refilled?
Yeah. Do you keep talking? Do you stop talking? Do you have them sit down and join the conversation? Sit, talk.
Go.
Go.
Fetch.
Speak, boy. So that's the IQ point.
All right. That was a good one. I like that one.
It's fun talking about.
It's a fun conversation. I hope you all learned something after that disastrous IQ point before about Time Bandits. Ugh.
It's just because I made eye contact with you the whole time, Rob.
Yeah. Pierced my soul. And now I feel like I have to refill your water.
Good boy.
Robert, do good. Robert, do
Here's
good.
a treat. Here's a bacon.
Well, now Sheldon gets home and tells Leonard to apologize to Penny. Right now would be good. And then knock, knock, knock. Although a few minutes ago would have been better. Penny storms in and confronts Leonard with all the things that Sheldon brought up. And Leonard already knows that Sheldon did this. Penny brings up
Who
the
would
larger
tell you
issue.
that? Why would Sheldon tell you that?
Yeah. Sheldon, damn it.
Sheldon.
Bad Sheldon.
Bad Sheldon.
Well, Penny brings up the larger issue of trust, that Leonard doesn't trust her. And then he turns over to Sheldon for support, but then notices that he's gone. And then they leave to go find him. And now we cut to Raj's apartment, where Sheldon arrives to Raj's apartment in the middle of an argument with his parents. So it's the return of Raj's parents, which is always a delight.
This was a funny scene. This really made me laugh. Raj
is trying to bail on his cousin Sanjay's wedding to work with Sheldon on their dark matter stuff. And his parents are trying to set up Raj with Mr. and Mrs. Chowdhury's daughter, Lakshmi, who's flying in from London, which I'm a little curious after really thinking about. It's nice that they're doing that, but why are they trying to set him up with a long distance relationship? Because if she lives in London and he's in like California, it's like, what's the point of that? Or are they just desperate?
You know, I think it's kind of a sign that they're desperate, but also with matchmaking, I feel like that comes down to sometimes it has to be a distance relationship, because didn't they have a girl that they were setting him up with from India that was visiting or something?
From the Grasshopper Effect. That's right.
Yeah.
Was she just... God, I'm blanking on this. Was she just visiting?
That's what I recall, but I could be wrong on it.
I guess we have to rewatch that one.
Yeah. There we go. What's wrong with us? Shouldn't we know this? Shouldn't we memorize it all?
No, we should have memorized all this. We are the worst podcast.
We're terrible.
Well, the father insinuates that she's overweight because her stomach just got stapled, and Raj needs to get in good with her before her self-esteem rises.
That's such a horrible line, but it made me laugh. Like, I don't know how to take that.
It's not a horrible strategy.
It makes sense, but it's a bad way of thinking.
Yeah.
You gotta get in there before the self-esteem rises. Oh man.
Well, Raj says that he doesn't care, and he asks why they think that he can't find a woman for himself. And his mom says, because you're 27 and the closest thing we have to a daughter-in-law is that Jewish boy Howard. And Raj turns to Sheldon for support, but just like with Leonard, he's gone. And then he concedes and he says he'll go to the wedding.
We're just friends. I'll go to the wedding.
The look that the parents give him, I'm just like,
It's a Jewish boy named Howard.
Okay, I'll go. Now we cut to Penny's car, and the fighting continues, and we learn that Penny is also terrible at driving. She ran a stop sign, and she took her eyes off the road.
Wait, what
And
stop
they're
sign?
whistling out the door. Yeah, and they're
What's-
whistling. She's whistling out the door as if he's a dog.
Again with the dog theme.
Yeah. And now we're outside of Howard's house, where Sheldon changes it up and he rings the doorbell instead. And Sheldon can hear the entire conversation between Howard and his mom. And she can't get the door because she's on the toilet. And Howard prays for a home invasion and getting shot in the head. And Sheldon just leaves. It's like, nope,
He's just gone.
not
Before they
dealing.
even answer the door. He's out.
Yep. Done. And now we're back at the comic book store. And Stuart directs them to the nest that Sheldon built. And then he probes Penny about their fight. And as she walks away, he whispers, I love you. So it turns out one makeout session with Penny and you will be hooked.
You know, there's worse things in the world, like heroin.
She has the love potion. Well, Penny walks up to them and wonders what's going on. And Leonard says that it's a little hard to explain, that he does this thing where he pretends he's in an alternate dimension that occupies the same physical space we're in, but he can't perceive us. But Sheldon's like, don't flatter yourself. I'm just ignoring you. Penny tries to assure him that they're done fighting, and then we get more insight on Sheldon's childhood. He says, I've heard that before, but then the next thing you know, I'm hiding in my bedroom, blurring a Richard Feynman lecture while my mom is shouting that Jesus would forgive her if she put ground glass in my dad's meatloaf. And my dad's on the roof skeet shooting her Franklin Mint collectible plates. Wow. See, that's like, I can see why he's a little damaged on fighting. But at the same time, it's like I said, it's maybe not really his father. But
he's embellishing, exaggerating a little bit. If I'm gonna put glasses in me,
yeah.
So I did,
Jesus will forgive me.
2 IQ points that I feel like could probably be summed up in one. I did one on Richard Feynman and one on Franklin Mint. But technically, the Richard Feynman one's very short. Found out that he was an American theoretical physicist. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1965. And if you go to feynmanlectures.caltech.edu, all of his lectures from 61 to 64 are there with handouts that you can download and stuff. It says that they might be deteriorated a little bit. I didn't listen, but it was kind of, okay, if anybody's interested, you can actually hear his lectures like Sheldon. So
it actually is in audio then.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. That
Nice.
They are in audio.
Blare that shit.
Yeah.
Extra bass.
Take that, neighbors. We're punk rocking it.
Yeah.
So I found out that the Franklin Mint, which I hadn't heard of before, and I actually own some plates for them. I own a Simpsons collection with like old Simpsons from like the early 90s images, like them on the couch, them serving Mr. Burns a fish, stuff like that. I think there was a Christmas one. So apparently Franklin Mint is a private mint, and mint as in a company, a factory that presses coins and makes valuables. So they've been known to make toys. What else do they make? Coins, metals, jewelry, die-cast vehicles, dolls, sculptures, and even more. It was founded in 1964 by Joseph Siegel. And that was from Wikipedia. And then I found on lovetoknow.com that some of the most valuable plates, and I didn't even look into the other stuff really that much. I did find that the coins seem to be going for the most, because oftentimes they'll make coins like out of pure gold, and those will go for like thousands of dollars. But it's weird because lovetoknow.com said some of the most expensive things were a sterling silver Audubon bird plate set of 4 for $550 on eBay. A Star Trek porcelain plate, just a single one, sold for about $375 on eBay. And then a Richard Nixon inauguration sterling silver sold for about $185 on eBay. But what I thought was weird is they said a sterling silver US bicentennial set of 4 sold for $700. But I was looking up on eBay and I found one going for $1,250. So maybe inflation. But the most expensive one that I found on eBay myself, again, this hasn't sold, so maybe it doesn't actually go for this much, but was a sterling silver 4 Seasons, I can't pronounce this, Chimplove set of 4 for $1,599 plus shipping and handling. And basically it's 4 sterling silver plates with decorations that are like a snowy field, a flower, a autumn tree. I looked at them briefly, but nothing special. But yeah, about $1,600. So these get kind of expensive. I don't think the Simpsons are worth shit now. Like most of them that you get are like worth $5 to $10. Like as soon as you open them, they lose value. So you have to be very careful. But I could see why Richard Nixon's inauguration would be worth something, especially if it was made out of silver. So for what that's worth, that's what I found out about Franklin Mint.
Nice. And you still have your plates and everything?
I do.
You should take a photo and we'll put it on the gram.
Okay, I'll take some photos. I think they're here.
Yeah, and if they're worth nothing, I guess you're going to use them.
if they're worth something, people are going to find me and make eye contact and take my plates.
May I take your plates, sir? Please no.
Oh, don't do it.
Yeah, I never understood nice plates. Like, I just never understood it. Like, even as a collectible, it's like, really? A plate?
My dad got these for me as a gift because I love The Simpsons, and it was actually great because when I lived in Pennsylvania, I was in the basement. My room was in the basement, and the stairs went down, and we had like this little shelf right above the stairs, and we put the plates there. So every time anybody went down the stairs, they would see this collection of Simpsons plates, and it was kind of like the enter to Ryan's domain type thing. Now, if that's not cool, I don't know what is. But...
Well, they're going to make a live action movie of that now, and they're going to fuck it up. Yeah.
Both The Simpsons and Ryan's Domain are both getting movies, and they're going to be horrible.
Horrible.
You haven't seen shit yet. God damn.
All right, anything else on Franklin Mint or Richard Feynman?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, Sheldon brings up Justin again, and Penny gets mad that Leonard just won't let it go. And Stuart just passes by, says that he'd let it go.
Let it go. Like whispering, I let
it go. Yep. Then Penny and Leonard play mom and dad. They try to comfort Sheldon and let him know that since they're in a relationship, they're occasionally going to get into a fight, and they will always love him. And Leonard's like, oh, kind of always is a long time. Just classic mom and dad stuff where she's trying to comfort him, Leonard just being the dad. I actually really enjoyed that.
I thought it was funny. I didn't give myself a point like this because it wasn't Sheldon versus Penny, or it was Sheldon versus Leonard, but I would have been like Penny. I'm not above buying affection and trying to make stuff up. Like, I'm so sorry when I get mad at my dog. Here's a new toy.
Yeah.
So, but it's the
buy me something pretty.
Yeah, we'll always love you.
And this is how I show it, with stuff. And then they decide to buy, well, she tells Leonard to buy the robot and a comic book. And then Stuart awkwardly comes back and startles Penny, just starting to be a creeper. So we meet again. And that's the proper way to get the attention of your server.
Sneak up and
sneak up behind them. So we meet
have
again.
water?
I need some water. Check, please.
Check, please. Boy. What?
And now we're at the ending. Leonard and Penny are in bed. They look like they made up. And we find out that she conceded and had to tell Justin to stay somewhere else. And then we cut to Sheldon, where he's on his spot, and on the couch, there is Justin, asleep right next to him. Sheldon really should have asked for more than a comic book and a robot. And that was it. That was the episode.
That was a good compromise. I feel like that's where I would have gone with the compromise. If I'm not comfortable with him staying there, he can stay at my place. I'll make it work.
Yeah, I do wish that they actually fleshed out that conversation a little bit more to actually see their growth about like, this has nothing to do with not trusting you. I'm just uncomfortable with this. And if he just calmly said that, then she could have been like, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. We're new at this relationship thing. Let's just compromise. But they kind of just cut ahead.
Yeah.
And Leonard looking very smug that he won. He felt that.
He just got laid. I mean, that's a good reason to look smug.
Well, there's that. It's my smug, amorous look. Well, I still like, as we talked about it, I liked it a little bit more because I really liked it. Then I watched it 1,000 times and I liked it a little less. And now I'm back at liking it. There were a lot of good lines. There were a lot of good moments. I do like the theme of it is just fighting. How everyone is kind of fighting with someone else.
That's kind of why a lot of people don't like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because it's so much bickering. And it took me a while to get into that show as well, because it's just like, and that gets kind of old. But, if you can deal with it, I think there's still some funny lines in there.
Yeah, God, what season are they on? Like 20,000?
Something like that. But they only make 4 or 5 episodes per season, so it doesn't really count.
Oh, really?
Because
I think I got to season, I don't know, 8 or something like that. And then it was when I caught up to it and I just never picked it up again. Because I was kind of just blasting through it.
They only make 8 or 9 30-minute episodes per season these days. So it's a very, very brief.
Well, they're very busy people.
They are. They got Mythic Quest going on.
Yeah. Charlie Day's in 1,000 movies now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it makes sense.
Dee, I can't remember her real name, but she was in a show called The Mig for a little bit. I liked it, but it got canceled.
Yeah.
After 2 seasons.
Yep, they're busy people.
Busy. Excuses. Make my show, damn it.
Yeah, snap.
Snap.
Ring.
And get me some water while you're at it.
Yeah. And my check.
All right, so with the Am I Sheldon count, not much this episode. I love the episode, but not many points either way. But it did put Sheldon ahead at 79 points, 78 points to everyone else. So Sheldon is 1 point ahead right now.
All right. And if my calculations are correct, I think we have 4 IQ points.
Woo!
Yep, we have 4 IQ points.
Nice.
All right. Oh, shoot. I did not get I forgot to get the card.
I forgot it too. Let's look it up now.
Card. All right, yeah. God, if it's a long one, motherfucker. Yep, it's a pretty long one.
It's not short.
All right. Let me sip some water first. All right, on to the vanity card. Chuck Lorre Productions 111. This is the official I have nothing worth writing about vanity card. It will run whenever I have nothing worth writing about. Don't be surprised to see it quite a bit. From now on, when our schedule requires me to deliver a new card and I'm empty, I'll simply say, run a check of the... See if I can make this bigger. So that's what she said. A check of the 110 cards I've already written will quickly demonstrate that I should have written this card a long time ago. Why didn't I? Vanity. I had become vain about my vanity cards. I was determined to write a new one each week because, well, I'm just that kind of guy. But I'm older and wiser now. I know when I have nothing to say, and that knowledge is freedom. Freedom from the constant need to win your approval. And more importantly, freedom from the obsessive and relentless need to end each vanity card on a joke. Glenn Beck is sober. And that's all it is. There's the vanity card. So I guess I might be reading that again in the future.
111. Didn't we do 111?
Like, wait a minute. This sounds oddly familiar and very vain at the same time.
So vain. Probably think this card is about you.
Yeah. Love that song. Well, anything else to add?
That's it for me.
And that's it for me. So thanks again for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. And don't forget to leave us a review. 5 stars, please.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see you next time when we talk Season 3, Episode 8, The Adhesive Duct Deficiency.
See you later.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Thanks for listening. You get to lead the next one, you lucky bastard.
Is it a good one?
Oh.